Good afternoon and welcome to For The Drive. In the last 3 or 4 months I've been asked more and more often about the equipment that I use to create the videos. What cameras I use, what mounts, what software, basically all aspects of how I create the videos and the content to upload for you to watch. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to actually do a video of the full breakdown of everything I use, cameras, mounts, equipment, software, pros and cons of those bits of equipment, and also whether I'm going to upgrade to anything better in the near future. So today is purely all about the equipment that I use and why I use it. So first things first, the camera that I'm actually using to film this entire video will be my iPhone 7 because the swapping and changing between cameras is just going to be a nightmare. So I'm actually just going to use this because I can see what I'm doing, it can focus quickly, and it's easy to move around and do what I want it to do. So it's really quite nice and handy. So let's have a quick look. I've got all my stuff laid out on the floor for you nice to see. I haven't got a desk big enough, so apologies. This one here is my original camera, my current camera, lenses, GoPros, mounts for the GoPros, some miscellaneous bits and pieces, and my new microphone, and obviously some tripods at the back. I will quickly run through the original camera that I originally started all the videos. Is a Canon 1200D with an 18-55 telephoto lens. The lenses are interchangeable. It was a great camera. It runs at 1080, 30 FPS, so that's perfectly fine. All I can think was, there were some limitations. For some reason it would cut out after about 10-15 minutes of filming. It would just stop no matter what I did. So even when I got mounts to put it inside cars, and I thought, well, great for the audio and for the zooming and things like that, because you use interior car audio, it just wasn't good enough and it kept cutting out. And with the telephoto lens, any sort of movement makes it, and it just doesn't have that kind of, it wasn't good enough. So I've now upgraded to this baby. It's an 80D. It's quite a bit expensive. I mean, the body alone new would be about £1,000. Luckily I didn't have to pay that, but second-hand market on eBay and things like that are always perfect. But there are big improvements on the old system. It runs at 1080 60 FPS. It's got the flip-out screen, which means that when I'm doing my intro films I can actually see it. Let me put it into position so you can actually see what I mean. I can then see what it's looking at, so I can and tell it to focus. The focusing on it is much quicker, as is the newer lens. This lens is the same lens as that in terms of zooming ability, so the 18-55, but this one has the stabilization system inside it, so the zooming is much quieter. The autofocusing is milliseconds instead of potentially a second, things like that. It's just so much better. So this is definitely a much better beast for what I want it to do, and it just takes better pictures as well. The main reason why I don't use a proper video camera, like a handy cam like a lot of the other people that I watch, is because I do my photography on the side as well. There are pros and cons to having that as my camera as well as my video camera. Main pro is that I can just literally flip between settings and change between, I'm going to do a bit of filming, like a car's coming past, I want to listen to it, and then go onto a photo to take a nice shot of a nice angle. The biggest downside I find is because, as I mentioned a minute ago, the telephoto lens is such a long distance from the actual sensor. Any movement makes it it accentuates the problem, whereas a handycam can be much better at organising and just stabilising images. So if you see someone walking with a handycam, the image is much smoother, much nicer, whereas if I ran with that, you would almost potentially get nauseous just by watching it, because it's too quick. It can't smooth out the movement. It's minor, but it's something that I've noticed over the last few videos that I've started doing, and then you just got to compensate as best I can for it. I just don't like carrying so much equipment around with me that I can't. You've only got so many pockets. You can only do so much. This is a new addition, fairly recent addition. The Rode Video Mic Go with an extra windsock. Let me just take it apart for you. Oh, there we go. Nice directional mic. I mean, the microphones on both of the Canon bodies are actually not bad, but they were very susceptible to wind noise. So I bought this and then upgraded and bought the windsock as well, which just makes it look pretty damn cool too. Let's put it on. If I can do it one handed, there we go. Another reason why I upgraded the body, to be honest, was that the original 1200D does not have a microphone input. So I actually needed to upgrade. If I wanted to upgrade to a microphone system so I could have better audio, I had to get a better body. So that was almost a no-brainer for me. I've got a Canon 50mm prime lens, which is fantastic for shots, especially low lighting, but the biggest downside is it's not telephoto, so you can't zoom in and out. You are literally left with its focal length fixed, but you do get some really nice shots. I'd normally take that out if I'm going to do a photo shoot, not so much walking around at car shows, which you probably a few of you have seen me at. Another telephoto, 55 to 250mm. This is a big beast. This can get some like runway shots, can zoom down quite nicely, but once again, moving around with it is a little bit of a, because this telephoto is eccentric even more on that, trying to walk with it is a nightmare. And 55mm physically, I'd have to have it halfway across a standard size room for my face to be a good position for you to see. So main usage is that with the 18 to 55. These are for special and for specific uses. The GoPros are the GoPro Hero 4 generation. So you can actually put it so you can see it, idiot. I've got 2 pluses. I do have a friend of mine that helps me run my channel, that comes with me on all the car shows. He owns one of these and one of these. So between us, we've actually got 5 GoPros for the bigger films, or for when we need it. But at the moment, these is what I currently own myself. These are the GoPro Hero Pluses. As I say, you can see I actually put a label on it so I know which one's which. These are great. There are limitations to it. They're quite cheap, and with the extra casing around them, they're quite durable, so it doesn't matter too much if they get damaged. I'm not too fussed by it. They last about 2.5 hours on a single charge, so it's pretty good for most films, and they charge up fairly quickly, as most GoPros do. 1080 60 FPS. They only record at wide angle, and the thing that I've noticed now is that I'm actually kind of wanting more and more different angles. I want sometimes play about with making it medium or super wide or things like that, and those are great, but that's the one thing that they do actually struggle a little bit, is that they are made to be the cheapest accessible part of a GoPro, so you've got limitations with what you're allowed to do and what you're allowed, how you can customize it. So I normally put them on the outside of cars, so it doesn't matter that if, God forbid, a mount failed, that they fell off. The audio is not that great either because of the casing, that they struggle a little bit with picking up good exhaust notes. So it's just, they're normally especially at the front of the car where you get a lot of wind noise, basically ignore the audio. You just want good quick imagery, and wide angle is perfectly acceptable for that, so I use those for those kind of things. Towards the back, I normally move on to this puppy, the Session, which is currently being on market still. You can still buy these, but I think that currently they're about £160. The GoPro Hero 4 again. The 5 has just come out, which is on my list to upgrade to, but it's just, at the moment I don't need to spend the money, so I haven't bothered. But these are great because they're almost, battery life is almost as long as the pluses, about 2 hours, just about half an hour less, but not by much. You get a lot more. Let's see if I can play about with it. You turn on. There we go. Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you could. At the moment, I've currently got it set on medium, so you can change between medium and wide angle, which is nice for interior. And it can actually go up to 1440 at 30 FPS, or I keep it at 1080 at 60 FPS. I prefer the 1080 at 60. I think especially if you're going to do nice for car footage, for driving fast, 60 FPS looks much, I don't know, it just feels, although it feels like you're going fast even though you're not, it just looks nice and crisp. And when you want to slow it down, you don't get that kind of horrible grain and too much of a slow motion lag, because you can actually slow it 50% and it still be running as fast as most TV programs. So I think running at 1080 60 FPS for all of my equipment is perfect for me. So as I said, the GoPro Hit the Plus, the Sessions are my favorite. Definitely, like, if these break, get another one of those or upgrade to the 5. If not, these are perfectly acceptable for going on outside of cars. I normally put these on the inside for when I'm inside the car and chatting to you through reviews or intros. That's what that's what I'm talking to. I do sometimes have a close microphone system, but I'm looking to sort that out because I think I think I broke it. So let's move on to my mounts. I mean, I'm a big fan of the triple suction cups. I do have a single, and my friend / colleague for the channel has a triple and another single for his GoPros. So that's no, but I always get a bit wary of only having one GoPro. One, you get a little bit of shake. Two, it's just that extra insurance of having 3 cups. If one fails, you've still got 2 holding a relatively light weight, but it's still holding to the car. I've never had a problem of any of my mounts failing, so I'm pretty lucky, but it's just that ever so slight is always there of, I just don't want this to fail, and because if it falls off, not only will the mount get broken, which is fairly cheap to replace, but I'm going to lose potentially the camera, which is a little bit more expensive, and the footage that I've just taken if the memory chip gets broken. So I'd rather just, as long as I can get it on the car, then I'm pretty happy, so that's fine by me. And there's all sorts of different types of mounts on websites that you can buy. You can buy GoPro. I've got a GoPro specific one. These ones are third-party ones. You just buy what you want. I normally use this in tandem with both the Canon and my Session, because what I can do is, it's a little tabletop tripod. Oh, it's a bit fiddly. There we go. You know, look at that. It's got a little ratchet system, so you can set the angle, and that's perfect for most things. If you wanted to take a long exposure shot, but you don't want to carry a big tripod with you, you can carry this around in your pocket, and then just set it up and press a button and walk away, which is great. And also, another thing that it does, then it becomes a grip. So what I normally do is I attach my GoPro to the top on this with the mount that I've got on it, and then I can just press the button to start recording, walk around the car, and then stop it again. And then if I want to, I can just dismantle it, collapse it as close as I can, and normally, especially at the moment with winter, you normally got some sort of coat, it will go in a pocket with no problem. And I actually sometimes do even use that on the underneath of my Canon, so when I'm doing the intro films and the exit films, I've got a grip, so I can actually feel a bit more comfortable with holding it. Leads me on to this little thing. This will be very bright. Look at that, jeez. Basically, it's just a ring LED system for the camera. You can plug it onto the hot shoe where my microphone currently is. It will actually go underneath here. It will attach to that, and I can set it so the flash can enable it, or I can just have it on lights. It's almost only really ever use it with my other lenses if I'm going to do photo shoots, but it's fantastic that if you just got low lighting, you can just always use it. And you can turn it back on again. It's so bright. It's on barely. There you go. That's on full brightness. Jeez. But you can have half of on, play about with it. So you can play it. You know, do different. You can make it. So yeah, it's quite universal. It's quite usable for most situations, and relatively cheap. You can get some really expensive kits that are much more customizable. But considering that I just wanted something, I just wanted something to play about with to see whether the lighting would make a difference. I've used it a couple of times. I haven't actually had that much opportunity to get it out at night, because normally I haven't really had the opportunity during the summer to go late night car shooting and things like that yet. But next year I'm hoping to get more of this stuff out more frequently to really test it and see whether I want to upgrade or whether I just need to change my approach. And back just there against the wall, got 2 tripods because I love having a tripod. I mean, most of these will go up to a fairly good height. Oh, it's got to stand up, get out of the way. Most of them are all down here. Actually, focus. You've got 2 levels of telescopic leg, so I can play about. So I mean, this current one goes up to about 5-6 foot at full extension. There you go. And then and then the mount for the actual camera itself. You can fit a GoPro on there, or normally put my DSLR up there and play about with it. So you can, you can play about with it. You can put other mounts on there, and you can also extend. So I mean, you can get about. I'm sure you can get about 5 foot, 6 foot with relative ease, which is really nice. So for flyby shots and stuff, I quite like having that one around. I recently bought this one as well, partly because I wanted to have two, which I'll explain to you, because at the moment, as I said, I'm using my iPhone 7 for this video for you guys. It's actually in a small mount. I will take it out temporarily so you can see the mount. It's just, I mean, it's not massive fancy, but that will actually go onto a tripod, because the iPhone 7, let me put this back in, there we go, because the iPhone 7 actually runs, because the iPhone 7 camera has got so much better since the old generation. You can do the slow motion system where it will run even faster than 60 FPS, so when it slows down it still looks pretty crisp and clean. Part of the reason why I thought that'd be really good was that I could actually have two different angles if we're doing a nice car review and we found a good road. I could have the DSLR on one point, on one tripod, and the iPhone 7 in the equipment on another tripod at a different angle. That would potentially, so if I recorded it with the slow-mo system enabled, I could actually import that into the computer and then just play about with having some nice slow-mo sections, just for added drama. And I just love slow motion, especially for like drifting or wheel spins and things like that. It just looks really, really cool if it's nice and crisp and clear. So I bought the mount and thought, well, I need another tripod. So I bought this one. I mean, it's very similar. It's actually got 3 levels of leg extension, which is nice. Another one and another one. There it is. Which is fantastic. I think this one actually goes up above 6 foot high. It's quite a bit taller than I am. And also, if I flatten this out, the middle bit comes out and becomes a monopod. Oh, gonna stand up now. So I now have an adjustable monopod that I can then just set this up and actually have some sort of stability for certain filming aspects. I have used it, it does work. It's still not as good as an actual tripod, but it's fantastic if you just want something quickly. And it all goes back nice and neatly inside the original tripod and then goes back away. So I think we should move on to the software portion. But I currently run PC that I build myself. It's a few years old now because I can't be bothered to upgrade it, because I know that I kind of want to buy a MacBook, so I can't. It's that kind of thing. I just don't want to spend loads and loads of money upgrading bits and pieces for the PC and then go, well, I'm just going to spend like 1,500 quid on a MacBook Pro. So I currently use, as you can see, I've actually got 2 screens running. There's the actual tower. I've got 2 screens running and I run Adobe Premiere Pro. I think it's pretty good. I think maybe the Apple version might be better, but considering that the Adobe system is very good, because I like Photoshop for the photo editing, this is actually really quite handy. You've got the media browser down the bottom. You've got the track system, so I can play about with what's going on with different for my different audio tracks. I've got it split out so I can actually see it as it runs. So if I go back to the program and then hit play, so you can see just running across, and it just gives me a chance to edit, so I can see if there's any problems, and it's running real time. And then I can play about with audio clip mixes, the effects controls, and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, all the bits and pieces that you want with how you want to export it. Whether I want it 60 FPS, 30 FPS, I can do export just sections for testing and things like that. There are a few bits and pieces that sometimes the computer does struggle on processing at real time, like lots of quick changes and speeding up, but I think that's purely actually partly to go down to the PC itself being a little old, and eventually I'll either upgrade it, I'll either give in and upgrade it and build it a newer version, or actually just bite my tongue and I'll probably buy a MacBook Pro or something like that. So I hope that's cleared up any questions that you may have had. If you still have any questions about anything that I went through today, please don't hesitate to ask a question in the comment box below. I'll do my best to answer it. If not, I can make a specific video for that particular question. If there's a big enough need for it, that's no problem, fine by me. But thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe and share as always, and I'll see you guys later.